Welcome to the Property Bible. This show was created for current property owners, people looking to purchase property, and for professionals in the industry. Hope you enjoy. Welcome back to the Property Bible. My name's Kim Ackerman. I'm a buyer's agent from Trelease Associates in Sydney. Today we're going to be talking about the art of making an offer on a property when you're purchasing property. I have with me back in the studio, Mr. Jeremy Bedwani, our COO from Trelease Associates.
Thank you, Kim. I don't know if I'm back here by popular demand or if it's a second chance, but happy to be here.
Thanks, Jez, for coming in. Today I really want to go in and talk about how to make an offer. I think the part of making an offer on a property is probably one of the most crucial parts of the process that we go through as buyer's agents or for buyers in general. So I really want to talk through some of the techniques that we use and some of the techniques that people can use during this process to really increase their chances of getting that offer over the line.
Yeah, because there's offers and then there's successful offers as well, right?
Right.
So I think we can share some information with people today on how to kind of look at your offer and put it in a position to make it the most successful offer possible. There's obviously a lot of technical elements to it, and there's a little bit of, some tricks of the trade we might be able to share.
Yeah, for sure. Now we're running on a couple of hours of sleep each. So this could be the best or worst episode that we've ever done before.
Hope they can't tell.
But I think we're alert enough to talk about this. We do this on a daily basis. We know it back to front. And there's definitely some tricks of the trade that we can discuss throughout this process. I pretty much want to start with saying, every deal is so different. Every single deal, there's not one technique or not four common techniques that we use when we're making offers on property or at that point of the property purchase. So that's one thing to really keep in mind. If you to sort of kickstart this sort of,
discussion,
mind frame, this discussion that we're going through, what are some of the elements that you think would be the most important?
Well, I think the first thing that I would share with people and for people wanting to figure out what to do with the offer is that before the offer's made, there's so much that goes into preparing before you put the offer in.
Yeah.
And the number one thing that people have to think about is the minute you walk through a property and the second that real estate agent lays eyes on you, you are in a negotiation for that property, if you like it or not.
Yeah.
You're in a negotiation. And you have to be aware of that because when you are not of the frame of mind that we're already negotiating, you're already well behind. And these guys will start to extract information out of you that they will use to their benefit and not yours. So the first thing to kind of mention is you are in a negotiation the second they see you and the second you've walked into the property. You've got to have your mind around that.
Yeah, for sure. I think you've got to be alert when it comes to that side of things. Understand that every question, every sentence, every conversation you're having with that agent is extracting information towards a possible offer or a possible negotiation situation that you may be in down the track as you get closer to liking the property and getting in the position of physically making an offer.
The thing that I think is really the most important as well, once you know that you're in a negotiation around that offer straight away, the next thing that's the most important and often the cardinal sin that people make if they don't realize is that you want to be collaborating with the sell side.
Yeah.
You want to be working together with the sell side and in as much collaboration as possible on this offer to up your chances.
And creating rapport,
building relationship, whatever you can do that you are working together with that sell side is where you need to be. Because too many people see the sell side as the evil part of the deal. And too many people will see those guys as the adversary. And that's not what you want.
It's a huge mistake.
That's the biggest mistake you can kind of make. And you want to try and figure out ways in which you can have conversations with the real estate agent, conversations with the sell side that let's do this together. What can we do to work together on this? What are you looking for? What's important to your seller? What's important to you, Mr. Agent? How do we collaborate? And if you can start to work out that, and if you can start to edge closer to being more collaborative with that person, you're going to be so much further ahead than anyone else.
For sure. And a big part of our success as buyer's agents is our relationships with the sell side, whether it be with the agents or any person in that process. It makes it so much easier when you have mutual respect and mutual understanding. You're both going towards the same goal at the end of the day. And there's no point in going into that process, as you said, on the defense or instantly feeling like that person is your enemy or your competition. It's very much a collaborative effort. You're both trying to get to the same point. It's just a matter of where is that point actually going to fall at the end of the day
and in
whose favour.
Yeah, and when it arrives, how do you even know as well, which we can touch on.
For sure.
And what do you do from there?
And look, if we sort of start to zone in, that's one approach to going forward, and that's definitely a part of the art of making an offer, so to say. But I guess if we talk about the offer itself, for example, a big part of the way that I run my side of the processes is to first understand what is that property worth to begin with. How can I possibly look at making an offer if I have no idea what I'm buying and what is it worth in the scheme of things, regardless of what the guide is, regardless of any other information that we've been given from the sell side or anywhere else. So it's really good to have a good understanding of the value of the property, which is usually a range of some sort of price point. It's never a definitive dollar value. We, had an episode on how to value property a little while ago, so that goes into a little bit more detail. But understanding the value of the property and also understanding the expectations of the sell side as well.
That's something that if you're the buyer and you're trying to acquire these properties, if you can get an understanding of the motivations for the seller, that would be amazing, and that's crucial, and that's something that we work on a daily basis when it comes to deals, because you need to know what the motivations are for that seller. Because if their motivations are in line with where we can get to, well, then there's a possible deal to be made there. But if you don't know what the compelling reasons are for them to sell, well, where do you start? So it's a hard question. Valuing a property is obviously a very scientific thing, which you can obviously chat to people about. But beyond that, people have to ask themselves, once you've worked out a price, what's the property worth to me? And what are the reasons for me to buy the property as well?
Yeah, because they're such different values, aren't they? I mean, we talk a lot about this. I'm very data driven. So having a scientific formula to determine the value of a property is a lot easier for me. But when you're looking at the emotional value of a property for someone, I mean, you had a scenario recently with someone.
Yeah, I had someone recently who I looked after, a very, very prominent Australian business person who had not bought a property himself for 27 years. And he came to me and said, Jeremy, there's a particular property I want to buy. And so we had a discussion around why he wanted to buy the property and how much he wanted to pay. It turns out that this house that he had identified was next door to his son, and it was next door to where his grandkids were. He wanted to live next door to help the grandkids out because one of the children had special needs. Now, the grandfather, who was the client for myself, that's a very big reason to get next door. So he
it's
obviously
a very different value on the property.
He had his own different value, and he had put a very different value to other people. So when we went to represent him, we secured the property because he really wanted it. But what was interesting was that after we had secured the property, he said, thank God that you guys did it for me, because I had an extra 350 grand up my sleeve, which I could have used, and he would have.
He would have.
So you got to put your own understanding around where value is from a scientific level, and then obviously your emotional component to the property as well. In a market where we are now in Sydney, obviously prices are going absolutely insane. So it can be very hard to work out where do I draw the line, and maybe you can't even afford the property no matter how badly you want it.
Correct.
And no offer is going to get you there.
Well, that's the other thing. Budget gets thrown into the mix there. We talk about the scientific value, which is a range that you get based on comparables, based on the quality of the property, the square meters, all those sorts of things. So that property gets a price that it's worth. Then you throw in the emotional value. That might edge up a little bit more, especially if it's a particularly unique property or something that's going to benefit you, like being next door to your family, for example, like the one that you gave. And then you have your budget as well. And if you're not willing to go to the level that you need to go to acquire that property, you might have to move on to another opportunity.
Yep.
Unfortunately.
So I think, people who are tuning in, they're going to try and work at getting a better relationship in place. They're going to try and work to build some rapport and be as collaborative as possible with real estate agents as well. But I think timing is a major one too, about when do you actually even put these offers in?
Yeah.
Do I do it day one that it comes on the internet? Do I wait a few days?
Timing's huge.
There's a lot I think we could explain around that for people as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, timing is different for every opportunity. If we're looking at off-market opportunities, it's going to have a different timeline than maybe something that's on market. Sometimes you are approaching a property that's off-market, and the timing is to actually allow that property go on market and then dive in with an offer.
Yeah.
You're really sort of driven by so many different factors, and it's about juggling those factors and using your intuition to pounce when the time is right, so to say.
And if you can extract information out of the real estate agent as to when the best time is, that's what you want to do. So there's many a story where, we've had good relationships with real estate agents where we knew about the property before it came on the internet. We've already gone through that property now. We've had our client go through that property now, and we're starting to talk to the real estate agent about what we want to pay for it.
Yeah.
We've had scenarios many times over where the real estate agent has basically accepted our offer.
Yes.
But he says to us, let me put it online for a few days at least to get some exposure.
Of course.
So we're cool with that.
Yeah.
But at least we're having a conversation. He's telling us what day he's going to do it, how many people is he expecting to come through. And then you can get to a place where once those parties have come through and seen the property, Mr. Real Estate Agent can say to you, okay, guys, I need another 24 hours to work my vendor.
Yeah.
And then how about you submit your offer?
Yeah.
And sometimes we've even had scenarios whereby a real estate agent who we collaborate with will say, hey, give me an offer today, but not your best one.
Yeah.
And then let's work over
your way
that
up.
over the next few days. And we obviously have to hold some of our cards as close to our chest as possible.
Yes.
But there are many a story where we have had that kind of insider information, I guess you could say, and we've used it to the benefit of our client. And that's just where deals are made, when there's that great connection by both sides.
For sure.
And you can be as transparent as possible. And you can buy that property when really no one else out there has even a chance, even in a market like this in Sydney.
And because of that timing aspect, especially us as buyers agents having the right contacts and so forth, we are able to get all of our ducks lined up very, very quickly.
Yeah.
And if I could just add to that, a lot of people I see, especially in a hot market like North Shore, Inner West, Eastern Suburbs, they make the mistake of getting excited about a property. Sometimes they don't have their pre-approval ready.
Yeah.
They just see something and want it, so they might throw over an offer over the phone or on an email. There's just no
process.
There's no process, and there's no weight on that offer. It's a verbal offer. It kind of means nothing in the scheme of things. It might be good for the agent because he can go back to the vendor and say, look, we're starting to get offers. Really, they can retract that at any point in time. It's not set in stone. So getting our ducks lined up is such a crucial part. Now, in these hot markets, and some people that are just out there buying property for the first time don't realize that gone are the days of cooling off periods.
Absolutely.
To an extent.
Yeah.
So
maybe let's explain to people what the cooling off.
Let's explain this in a bit more detail. So generally, I guess what used to happen was people would make an offer, you would get offer and acceptance from the other side, which is all just sort of verbal hearsay. It doesn't actually mean anything in the scheme of things.
Yep.
If that offer is actually accepted, you may exchange contracts, which means both the vendor and the buyer signs the contracts and exchanges it. And then you have, I don't know why my voice just went high pitched.
We'll try and edit that down.
We might edit that bit.
A few decibels.
And then you have what's called a 5-day cooling off period, which was quite normal, I guess, back then. I don't know when then was, but gone are the days where we used to do that because we have such hot markets at the moment where property goes real quick.
Yep.
So you have these 5 days of cooling off, which is when you get all your due diligence done. You do your pest and building report, your review of the contract. You might get a strata report done if it's an apartment, so on and so forth.
Yeah, make sure all your finances there as well.
Finances, get a valuation done through the bank of the property, those sorts of things. Nowadays, especially in the Sydney market, we're giving unconditional offers. So we're not only getting a contract of sale signed, we're also giving them a 66W form, which waives that 5-day cooling off period.
Yep.
And we're giving them, a deposit check for 10% or 5%, whatever you've agreed upon, handing it over. And if they accept that, it's instantly unconditional on the spot. No cooling off, nothing.
And you own that property.
You're in, and you have another 6 weeks generally until it settles and you pick up the keys.
So that's what getting your ducks in a row means. Yes. It means ticking all those boxes, making sure that's all done, because a lot of the competitors out there who you'll be going up against for those properties haven't done some of that stuff, or they might have done 85% of it.
Well, they think they've got more time.
Or, sometimes people think, well, my offer is really good and really strong from a financial sense, but then they've forgotten that they haven't confirmed that their finance is ready, or they haven't really figured out how they're even going to provide a check.
Yeah.
So therefore your offer's not worth anything. So there have been many examples of times when we've bought a property because we had all of our ducks in a row and our offer was less than the other people.
Many times.
And we've secured that property because ours was there, it was ready to go, had everything done, had everything right about it, and there was a bow wrapped around it. Not to mention...
On a silver platter.
On the silver platter. And not to mention the real estate agent and us were talking about when we're going to deliver it, what time we're going to be there.
Yeah. Will you be at the office?
Will you be at the office?
We're coming there at 7 p.m.
Exactly.
I'm bringing it to your house. These are the extreme things that happen.
Yeah.
We've done exchanges at midnight.
Yep, all the time.
In cases.
One of the good examples of one of our colleagues who was collaborating really well with a real estate agent was when there was a property that we wanted to buy and the client said that they wanted to buy the property, and we rung that real estate agent up and the lady said, well, I'm going to go speak to the owners of the house tonight about all these offers. And our colleague, smart buyer's agent, said, can I come with you?
Yeah.
And the real estate agent said, okay, sure. So our buyer's agent went with the real estate agent to the house.
With an offer.
With the offer.
An unconditional offer.
She sat at the dining room table with the owners of this house and said, look, I'm your best buyer. Here it all is.
Yeah.
And sure enough, they accepted it.
Yeah.
And that's collaboration at its finest.
It is.
So when we're putting these offers together, getting all the ducks in a row, the real estate agents pretty much know exactly what steps we're making and when we're making them.
For sure.
And obviously... we try and hold them to that as much as we can to bring it all together.
Okay, so I guess we need to give people some tips on what they can do to wrap up some of those things we just talked about.
Yep.
I think, one big thing from my perspective is really, like you said, acknowledge that the negotiation really starts from the day you walk into that house.
Yeah, that's absolutely right.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
I guess another one is, to be front of mind for that agent. Let him know you're a real buyer. You're genuinely interested in the property. Otherwise, you just get sort of washed away in the group with all the other buyers as well.
For sure. My favorite one is the collaboration one. It's like, how do you work together with the real estate agent?
Yes.
And how do you solve the problem of buying or selling this property together?
Yeah.
That's my number one thing. That's what I strive to do every single time we're making offers and trying to buy property.
Because at the end of the day, it's like anything, not just when you're making offers on a property. If someone likes you, they want to do business with you.
Yeah.
I've seen agents say to me, I want you to buy this property. I'd really like it.
I prefer to deal with you
I prefer to deal with you. You'll get it done.
Yeah.
It'll be done efficiently. There won't be any loose ends to tie up. It'll get done. And so you want to be that person, whether you're a buyer's agent or just a buyer without an agent, you want to be that person that the agent has some sort of favoritism for, maybe.
Yeah, it's faith in that you're going to deliver on what you're suggesting you want to deliver on.
And part of that faith is grown by having your ducks in a row, having your pre-approval. Please don't go shopping for property until you have a pre-approval. I can guarantee you'll find something that you like. You'll make a verbal or an email offer on it and it'll go and you'll be really disappointed.
Unless you're a cash buyer, like I know a lot of your clients are.
Unless you're a cash buyer and you don't need a pre-approval. But yeah, there's some big points. Also, the valuing is a big one as well. I personally, and I know we talked about scientific value versus emotional value, but if you have a range that you give yourself of this is what the property is worth, my emotional value of the property maybe pushes it up a notch, but be careful not to land up here, because you don't want to be driven by an auction, for example. You don't want to be driven by the sales side notching you up and up and up. You want to be driven by what is the right thing to do. If the right thing is to end up here, to come above somebody, then so be it, if it means that much to you. But know when to walk away as well. If you exceed your offers and you can't go any further, and it just becomes a situation where you're grossly overpaying for something else will come up that will be suitable. I can guarantee you.
Definitely.
But that's a wrap.
Hopefully that was helpful for people.
Yeah, hopefully that was helpful for people. It's not a fine science, unfortunately. I wish it was. It really isn't. When you're going through this process, you have to be able to take what obstacles are coming at you and sort of pivot, adjust, depending on if there are other buyers, other competition, other offers that come into the mix. But try and use your intuition to find out when is the right timing for this. Gather as much information as you can from the agents during this process. Good agent will be open and honest with you and give you as much information as you need so that you're in a good position to be making an offer at the right time and the right kind of offer. So that's it. Thank you, Jez, for coming in again.
It's a pleasure. It's amazing to see what you've done with the place. You've got producers running around, hair and makeup artists.
Made a few non-changes.
I had to come and find you in your trailer earlier. So it's really taken off. It's cool.
I'm sure I'll have you again on here soon, no doubt.
Third time lucky.
Another 10 episodes down the track. But hopefully people have learnt something from this episode, and you can use these tips and tricks to be able to make your own offers on properties in the hot market at the moment. So good luck out there, and thanks for tuning in.
Yay.
Cut. Good job. I was like, yay. Is that going to be part of the thing?
That's got to be in the blue.